Hello and welcome to Sam's on Wrestling, and this is our controversial take. And this is Baby Sam.
Hello, how is everyone?
I just realised I don't introduce you half the time.
You don't. I get used to being very undervalued on this channel.
You're not undervalued.
I think I am.
You've forgotten.
Great. The heel turn is coming. Everyone. Don't worry, I'm biding my time.
This series is our kind of safe space series because we have done controversial takes in the past and people are like, oh, you've got a terrible opinion. And it was like, that's the point.
That's the point.
This is a series where we're going to give a take that's our personal take, our personal beliefs, or it also could be takes we've had from me. We had a few people giving their controversial takes, and at some point I'm going to start doing it on behalf of them.
Like devil's advocate.
Yes, I will actually try and argue for them.
And I will argue against, probably.
And also I could give it to you, go, here you go. If you haven't got a controversial take, you can do that.
Yeah.
And we're doing a take that's against the norm, as it were. It's that picture of that meme where there's 1,000 people and go, you're wrong.
Yeah.
We're doing that, where we will talk about something that is against the norm and we'll try and defend it. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it's your own personal taste, because you should be able to talk in wrestling. You should be able to have an opinion. It's fine. Do you like
Don't get upset, Sam.
Do you like AEW? Don't mention WWE.
Yeah.
Just say how much it's good.
Yeah,
Enjoy it.
it's fine.
So, before we find out what Sam's controversial take is, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Sam, can you tell us your controversial take this month?
Now, I think this is decently controversial.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of people think that this guy should have lost more. In my opinion, and I think this is, for me, it's mainly in his second run, because it's more of what I saw, I think Brock Lesnar lost too much.
Ooh.
I think he lost too many times. And I say that because I think towards the end, especially when you look at maybe when Cody went over him, in what ended up being his last match, it didn't feel as big a deal as I think it could have been. So here's the thing. This isn't the controversial part because everyone thinks this. He shouldn't have won titles as much.
Oh God, that's just
no. But that meant he had to lose more because he had to take the title off him.
It's a weird one. I get what you're saying. I think Brock Lesnar's losses have been on a bell curve. When he came back, all he did was lose. Lost to Cena, beat Triple H SummerSlam, then lost to Triple H at WrestleMania. So already he's in deficit.
Yes.
Already. So then he had to start winning afterwards because they were like, I need some wins here. Because he beat Punk at SummerSlam and stuff.
Yeah.
So he kind of got to a really bad start. And then I can't recall him losing much.
No, because he beat the streak, so he went on the big run.
And then, as you say, he started winning titles and he kept losing titles. How many times did he lose a title? He lost to Roman.
He lost
three times.
He lost to Roman. He lost to Seth twice, which is what I'm going to get onto. I have a list of...
Didn't he lose to Roman twice?
No, when he was Tribal Chief stuff, yeah. I'm talking babyface Roman.
I'm just... Drew?
Yeah, which I was fine with.
Lashley?
This again. So there's ones that I'm okay with. That he has to lose. He's a beast. He must be conquered. That's great. But I think it had diminishing returns towards the end, especially in the 2020s. Yeah. He wasn't as big of a deal to beat. And I think he had, because he's the UFC guy, because he's Brock Lesnar and he beat the streak. He should, and I'm not arguing that he should have or should have beat the streak.
Can I actually just add another thing for you to carry on your rant?
Well,
just so, because I think this is really important. Not only did he lose, most of his matches he lost within 7 or 8, 9, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And so not only is he losing, he's losing really fast, as if he's nothing. Carry on.
It's almost like they took the Goldberg formula, which was great at the time, and then thought, oh, that's how we have to beat Brock all the time. And I don't know if it's part Brock going, oh, I'm losing, am I? And I'm not going to try too much.
I don't think so.
No, I don't know. That's speculative. So. That's not really my point.
I think Brock does business quite well most of the time.
Usually. This is my list of the matches.
On camera.
Yes. This is the list of the matches I don't think he should have lost. I would erase these losses from history and have him win these matches or not have them. Cena the first time.
Yeah.
Extreme was real. Triple H. That you
started. Triple H did not need to beat him at WrestleMania.
Not at all. So again, completely have him undefeated before he even thinks about breaking the streak.
If Triple H had been another human being who was a younger person, so he did the same gimmick of Brock destroying them at SummerSlam and walk out. By the way, I'm not talking also like a young person. I'm talking main event. Imagine it was Cody and the same gimmick breaks his arm at SummerSlam and then walks off and then comes back and beats him at WrestleMania. That would have been fine.
Yeah.
But because it was Triple H at the end of his career, barely wrestling week in week out didn't work.
Triple H was also about to turn heel anyway.
Oh, he did.
So the fact of having win go over Brock as a babyface and then turn heel, it's like surely he should be losing before he turns heel.
He didn't even carry on wrestling.
No, exactly. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, those losses make no sense.
But that's
those two, yes.
Yes. I didn't mind him losing to Goldberg. I thought the moment itself was great. I think it really worked.
Brock,
it was a surprise.
Brock knew he was getting his win back, so it's fine.
Yeah, no, so I'm not including that.
No, that's great.
I've got Roman the first time.
Which one is that one?
2018. He loses eventually at SummerSlam after about 1,000 different matches.
Is that after the 34 where he actually wins at 34?
Yeah, Brock beats him at 34 and then...
Yeah, and everyone went, we don't even want Roman, but don't that.
Don't carry it on, exactly. If you're going to take the plastic
Because then didn't they also have this cage match?
Cage match in Saudi where they drew.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have even had Roman beat him. I think if you're going to take the title off of Lesnar there, you do it in the 4-way at SummerSlam without Brock being pinned. And that's how you do that. And you do it to Braun. So I wouldn't have had that either.
Agreed.
I think you still have it. I think it would have been played out much better if Roman had never gone over Brock as a face, and then later, years down the line, after 2022 return, Brock comes back and Roman's like, oh, I can't beat this guy at all. And then he beats him as the Tribal Chief as a heel, and that builds him
Which he also loses at SummerSlam 2022.
Yeah, exactly. But I've had that. That's fine.
And that was so. It reminds me what you just described. Then is Raven and Tommy Dreamer really random in ECW. Tommy Dreamer couldn't beat Raven. And it wasn't until Raven's last night that Tommy Dreamer finally beat him. And it was always like, oh, I can't beat you. And that worked really well. And I think having somebody that they cannot beat is an excellent story at all times. So that when they do suddenly ascend to the top, they can go, yeah, but you haven't beaten me. Yeah. And you're expecting at some point them to win. And if you just keep that going, it's really good. And I think you're right, Brock and Roman was that thing.
You didn't need to have Brock be beat by Roman. Because imagine if, Goldberg was the only one, but it was kind of, you can kind of put it as a fluke because it was taken by surprise. And then he was still built up. I wouldn't have had him lose to Seth either time. First
Seth was you got to remember, take back hindsight. Seth at this point was becoming a massive babyface, and they went, right, let's make a babyface, and he died on his arse.
Yeah.
Almost immediately. That 2019 babyface run is awful.
Yeah.
But I would have had him win the first one. I just hated the fact that it was a 3-minute squash.
Let's be frank, I'm using hindsight for all of this.
Yeah, of course.
So you know,
second one.
I'd have had Seth win neither. Maybe have Brock lose. Don't have him win the title off of who was it? Someone. Who did he win the title off? Oh, it was because Roman vacated it.
Kofi.
Roman vacated it, so he won the title off. Beat Braun at that Saudi match.
Oh,
so don't give it him back. So that Seth can beat Braun. That's fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have Brock lose to Seth either time because Seth isn't going to be your number one company guy. I think that's the person you should be giving it to. Your number one or maybe number two guy should beat Brock. Shouldn't have lost to Lashley, and that made no sense.
Well, because he ended up getting the title back anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'll have Drew. Drew's absolutely fine.
Why not do Lashley Roman in the main event of WrestleMania?
Well, no, agreed.
Why didn't they do that match?
Wouldn't mind that, Sam. That's also great. But also, so he loses the WWE Championship. This is how bad early 2022 was. He loses the title to Lashley at the Rumble. With the whole Heyman turns on him, which fine.
Yeah.
Goes back to the Royal Rumble later that night and wins it. So you think he's going to face Roman, and then he wins the WWE Championship back anyway off of Lashley
even though he's won the Royal Rumble.
So if this was the plan, they're going to unify the titles, which who knows what Vince was thinking that night. He probably hadn't planned it the next day. But if they're going to do that anyway, you don't need to have Brock lose it there. Have him beat Lashley at the Rumble, and then you do the Heyman turn in the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So it didn't make sense for him to lose to Lashley anyway, as much as I love Lashley. So that didn't make sense either. The only ones I'd do are post Goldberg, Drew. Yeah. Drew, and it's a shame it happened in COVID, but that was a big star.
It would have been the main event.
Yeah, and how much bigger would Drew's win have been if you hadn't had Roman or Seth beat him?
Yeah.
That'd have been massive.
Yeah.
And then I'd have done who after that? Roman. That's literally it.
Yeah.
Roman, and then Cody can be the third guy.
Yeah.
That's it.
I agree. I thought Brock lost too much, and it wasn't about that Brock lost. I'm okay with Brock losing all those matches in the grand scheme of things, bar Cena and Triple H in that first one. They made no sense. If the matches were 15 minutes, 20 minutes long, but Brock, this man who's meant to be awesome, I can put him down with 3 curb stomps, can I? Yeah. Well, why is he a big deal then? I actually thought they didn't make him a big deal. And I think they literally were just playing off his, and I hate this word because it's overused on Twitter, aura.
And they knew exactly
they were playing off his aura. And I was like, but if he loses in 6 minutes, he's big rubbish, isn't he? Like, Drew beat him 5 minutes.
Oh, no.
Rubbish.
I know.
Do you know what, Sam? I don't think it's that controversial.
This is the problem. I think my takes are controversial, but I struggle to find controversial ones for you because we think quite similarly.
Well, how about this one then? I'm actually going to throw out a debate one.
Interesting.
So I don't think this is controversial because I think it's a 50-50.
Okay.
All right? Now, I'm not giving you my opinion, first of all. Okay. I'm going to give you the consenting new opinion.
Okay.
And the new opinion is Kurt Angle had a better run in TNA than in WWE.
I don't think I'd massively disagree.
I disagree.
Okay.
Because I have sat down and now watched quite a bit of Kurt Angle TNA. That's why I brought it up, because we've done quite a bit of TNA. And the idea was Kurt Angle have said it's better, and everyone says it to him, and he agrees, and everyone says that. And they go, well, you think of the great matches, you hit your peak after 5 or 6 years and stuff like that. If I put best matches side by side with each other, WWE has way more. If I put memorable moments,
That WWE
has way more. Because we know TNA are about moments, that's all they try and do. So you can't say they don't try and build moments.
No, good.
In terms of character work, Kurt Angle being serious, TNA win, but everything else, WWE win. And I was looking at this because originally I wrote this controversial take a year ago when we started this channel. I wrote loads of controversial. I've got a big folder of them ready to go.
Right.
And I wrote this then, and I've gone back and watched them, and I've gone, do you know what? A, this isn't that controversial because everyone's saying it, and B, I actually don't believe it because I've really sat down and watched some of Kurt Angle's stuff. And you know what? For somebody with zero experience in the business, what he did in that opening 5 years, from the not taking himself seriously to losing, which must have been really difficult, to some of the best matches he put on, to changing character, to changing gimmicks, to changing styles, I think Kurt Angle is way better in that WWE run, even though he is a more experienced, well-rounded, bigger star, number one star in TNA. I think the fact that he was always constantly in the main event and the number one focus in TNA, I think clouds people to think that he was better in TNA because it was always Kurt Angle's the main event, Kurt Angle's the champion, Kurt Angle's the big deal, Kurt Angle is the Roman Reigns, he is the John Cena. But you know what? No, I'm going to say it. I generally think that if we went pound for pound, one-on-one, his runs in WWE, way better than in TNA.
Interesting. I think, and again, you're right, it's very 50-50. In terms of, I think you could call it either way. I think you can justify either one. With TNA, I think, although, yes, the in-ring stuff is very good, I think TNA can be put into the rose-tinted glasses category, where you see montages of, peak Angle.
Well, we're seeing it a little bit as we're reviewing.
No, this is the problem. Yes. So, for me, I look at it and I know maybe 10% of what Kurt did in terms of real storylines and matches that I've seen.
Yeah.
I just hear stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it becomes a bit of a myth. It's that kind of like it's like, mythology, the story kind of changes and it gets more and more revered. In ring he was clearly incredible in TNA. There's no two ways about it.
But how many people could you get to wrestle with? I'll also point that out.
Exactly.
Like, we got some of the best matches out of Scott Steiner and Matt Morgan, and you're like, yay!
There is that.
Woo! Take away Samoa Joe and AJ Styles.
Well, take those out of TNA full stop.
I know. Well,
so I get that because I think his WWE career had a lot more variety in terms of the comedy. The people he got to do promos with, your likes of Stone Cold and The Rock that he's bouncing off of, great talkers. Undertaker,
Jericho.
Triple H to a degree, really good talkers. So I actually kind of get you. I think instinctively I veered towards TNA because kind of everyone does, and it's kind of accepted as the hot take. He was even better in TNA, and he had a great run.
And he was there longer.
Which
blows my freaking mind.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if I hadn't been doing this TNA review series, I would have probably disagreed with you. But because we've watched most of Kurt Angle's first year of TNA by now, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got a couple of months to go, but yeah.
And I always thought of that as I hadn't seen it, but I thought the Joe and Angle stuff, obviously, it's basically wrestling folklore. And I watched it and
really good.
It's really good, but I think it's one of those that's been hyped up so much that it was a bit disappointing.
It wasn't better than his match with Shawn.
No.
It wasn't better with his match with Taker.
No.
It wasn't better with his match with Brock.
No.
Any of those.
The SmackDown 6 stuff.
I know he's got some other great matches that you haven't seen, like his cage match with Kennedy.
Yeah.
Where there's a story behind it, where they were like, you've got to go. They said they gave him 25 minutes. I've got the exact numbers, and they literally got to the day they went, we're giving you 15. And literally, they're in the ring, and the ref's going, okay, lads, you've got 1 minute. And Kurt just ignored him and carried on wrestling for another 10 minutes. And he went, we're taking our 10 minutes. And carried on wrestling. And I went, that's how you know your company sucks.
Yeah.
What do you think then? Kurt Angle, WWE or TNA? Where do you hedge? And you're going to go WWE?
I'll hedge WWE because, with me, I much prefer the entertainment side of things, the storylines, than the in-ring graps.
Yeah.
That's just me.
And yet he can do the graps as well.
Can he?
Yeah.
So I think just for that, because that stuff was better in WWE, I'll edge it. Well, they're both lovely.
They're both great, and that's why I think it's a real first. We had a really interesting conversation because I think now the new narrative is Kurt Angle was better in TNA, and I think he says it himself. Whereas I personally, and I've seen a lot of his TNA, as you know, and I've seen all of his WWE, I just think it's WWE. I really do. So, what do you think of our controversial takes? Do you have any others? Would you like me to argue on your behalf for your controversial take? Because I'm willing to start doing that from this point on. If I don't get one that I can sink my teeth into, I'll do my own. Sam might even do it.
I mean.
Yeah, so please put them in the comments. Send them us on X if you really want to. If you have Blue Sky, who does? Send it on there. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, wrestling is subjective and a safe space to have your opinion. Unless you think that Brock Lesnar should be the champion at all times and win it and lose every match.
I never said that. Put words in my mouth.
500 days, never saw him.